everyone, and welcome back to the third episode of the Try Zone. I'm your host at this time, Jack, with my co-host Uncle Stu. How
Hey
are we?
Jack, going good?
Virtual fist bump.
Yeah,
I
first
know if
virtual
we were,
cast.
if we were there face to face, would be a real fist bump. But obviously, some episodes will be face to face, some will be virtual. It's just how it's going to go. Um, how are you?
Doing good, mate. Feeling good.
Oh, I am too. Well, let's talk some footy. It's been a while.
Yeah, lots been
We're still
happening.
here. We're still here, guys, so don't worry. The Penrith Panthers, obviously, since our last episode, they won the premiership. They beat Melbourne four in a row.
Amazing.
Unbelievable. It's something we haven't seen in the modern game. Obviously, if you go back to when the Dragons did it back in the 50s and 60s, my team, they did 11 in a row, but obviously that was pre-salary cap errors. The game's changed so much since then. And for this team to do that back to back four times with the amount of players they've lost, like every year we say, oh, they're not going to be as good. They're not going to be as good. They're going to not make the eight. We say it every year. They're not going to win the premiership. They keep proving us wrong every year, and that's credit to Ivan Cleary. I still think he doesn't get enough credit, but what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I love the way Cleary, Isaiah Yo, I thought he was outstanding. Liam Martin and the big game players, they step up. Dylan Edwards, just phenomenal, phenomenal victory, phenomenal team, and yeah, why not? Can they go five? But who knows,
They
man.
can do anything now. Once you've
That
done four,
that
you can
team
do anything.
that team is phenomenal. But Isaiah Yo, Australian captain as well, well deserved. I just couldn't have been more impressed. Sometimes I look at him and I think, like, is he playing to his full potential? And then I just see games like that and it just blows my mind. Like, he was just phenomenal. And credit to Penrith, congratulations. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the off season brings, and that's what we're going to talk a fair bit about today. So yeah, let's get into
Yeah,
it.
so yeah, well done to Penrith. Unbelievable. You deserve it. But yeah, let's get into some current news. So obviously today's November 2nd. Yesterday was November 1. Now, if you guys don't know this, November 1 is the day where every player coming off contract can negotiate with rival clubs. So before that day, they can only negotiate with their club. But from November 1 onwards, someone like a Ryan Papenhuyzen, who's coming off contract, can negotiate with someone like Bulldogs, which we'll get to a bit later. But some big signings or some big re-signings since November 1 and a few days before. Reece Walsh, we spoke about in the first episode, signs a massive 4-year extension. Sam Walker, it's not confirmed yet, but it's been reported, and I'm sure that will come out in the next few days. It's a 2-year extension. Brian Trindle came out yesterday. I was quite surprised about that, but well done the Sharks.
Yeah,
He
huge
re-signed.
signing for the Sharks.
Yeah, massive signing.
Yeah,
3 years. They've got a lot of players coming off contract. They've got like 13 players coming off contract, Cronulla. So they're getting through them.
yep.
So well done to them. Xavier Willison, who I'm a big fan of. I love Xavier. He's re-signed with the Broncos for an extra 2 seasons.
Yeah,
And reported today, Britton Nakora from Cronulla has also re-signed for 2 years. So
yeah. Wow.
there are some great signings there for clubs, some marquee signings. A lot of these clubs know how vicious other clubs will be to try and get those players away. So
Yeah,
they've made their priorities, they've stuck to it, and well done to them. Now, on the other side, a few players in the last few days, there's been massive talks about Ben Hunt, Clint Gutherson, and Josh Akar. Ben Hunt was released from the Dragons immediately.
mm,
Now, we spoke about this in the first episode. It's been headlines basically since that Para game, and when people started speculating if there was a bit of a rift between Flanagan and Hunt.
yeah,
And then the noise hasn't gone away since. And when I think I heard Hunt said that he didn't want to come back to Dragons and never want to be coached by Flanagan again. I heard that somewhere, and when I heard that, I was like, okay, it's over. And so he was released the next day immediately. I wish him well, Hunt. Obviously, he's the captain of the Dragons on a big money deal. And there are 4 clubs circling that's reported: Dogs, Dolphins, Broncos, and Roosters. Now, Dogs were reportedly out of the race, so apparently they're back in. Maybe because this is at the departure of Adokar. Dolphins obviously is a clear one. Broncos is an interesting one because that depends on Ezra Mam, and if whether they get rid of Mam, Because if they don't get rid of Mem, there's no way. Surely. What's your opinion?
Well, do you think Broncos will move Ezra Mam on?
I've heard. I think he will stay there, but I wouldn't be surprised. And if they move him on, it's a clear move to get Hunt then. So yeah, I don't think they will move him on. And if they don't move him on, I think there's no chance
Do you think?
that he
Do you
goes.
think Hunt will wait until they
Uh,
make a decision on Ezra Mam before he moves to? You know what I mean? Like, do you think he's waiting on their decision before? Because I'm sure he would love to go back to the Broncos, right?
Oh yeah.
It feels like that's somewhere that he feels comfortable. I think he can make a big impact. You got Renault there as well. Him and Renault in the halves, pretty good. Great kicking games, good organisers, good structure.
Are they too similar, Hunt and Reynolds?
Look, they probably have similar games in the fact that they both have dominant kicking games. They both probably like to be, hands on. Hunt's probably got a better running game than Reynolds. I think Reynolds, as his career's progressed, he's probably taken a more, ball player type role. But they got plenty of attack, that Broncos team. So you probably don't need to do too much. If you're hitting Reece Walsh out the back more often than not, you don't need to get too carried away as a running half. But yeah, I think Ben Hunt is an interesting one. I said it probably 12 months ago, and I've said it for the whole year. Dragons should move him on. I think, whether it's rugby league or business or anything, but when you've got people that are, causing noise and are unhappy with their current situation, in the same way that, I think he was probably influential in the Dragons losing Lomax to some extent, I think you just got to move him on. And I blame Ben Hunt's performances for the Dragons not making the 8 this year. I think he was a central part of that team sort of falling away at the back end of the year. And you could just see he wasn't as committed as you need him to be as your captain, as a marquee player. And he's a phenomenal talent, Ben Hunt. And, he's in the Australian team now and he can play. And he's one of the best there is going around. But you could really see at those last few games at the Dragons, he just wasn't engaged. He wasn't there. And you can't have that because all these other people around him are looking up to him as the main person and the main leader of that team. And it was pretty unfortunate to see, and also unfortunate for Dragons fans like yourself, that they couldn't get up and make the 8 this year. So I think the club will be better for it. Obviously, you get a fair bit of salary cap back, which is always good. And there's a bit emerging in this player market, as we're going to talk about,
There is a lot.
that could be very interesting for Dragons and exciting for Dragons fans.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I don't think it goes to the Bulldogs. I think it's either Broncos or Dolphins. Smoky Newcastle. See what
I think
happens.
another Smokies Roosters, which we'll get to in a sec. But as Shane Flanagan said, no player is bigger than the club. It doesn't matter if you're Nathan Cleary or if you're Jane Sullivan. It does not matter which player you are. You are not bigger than the club. Club comes first, and I think Dragons realised this, and that's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they got rid of him. And Roosters is the other one. Now Roosters re-signed Walker, so I would imagine that he would not be playing in the halves unless he plays 5'8", but that seems to be Sam Smith's spot. But the interesting one with Roosters is, and the reason why it's here, is because Brand Smith's coming off contract. Now, if you didn't know, Brand Smith tore his ACL, I think it was the second last round or the last round, one of the two, tore his ACL, and it seems to me like that both Roosters and Smith don't get along too well. He hasn't been playing to his full potential, in my opinion, at Roosters.
Yep.
I wonder if Roosters will let go of Smith to bring Hunt in at hooker. Now, Hunt's 34 years old. Does Hunt want to play hooker week in and week out? He does it at Origin, but it's 3 times a year. But would he want to do it at a club week in and week out for, I would imagine, 2 years?
No, I don't see him at the Roosters. I don't see him playing 9. And Brandon Smith took up his player option, right?
Did he? I don't think he did. Oh well, no, I think the player option was 24, 25. We're talking about 26.
Okay.
Yeah, I think So I think he took the player option up to 25,
Yeah.
and yeah, so he's got no contract.
Sorry, so you're talking about an early release then of Smith for next year?
I think an early release is possible, but I also just think they let him run out the contract.
I think that's
Like
possible.
I said, he tore his ACL and will be out for half the season.
Yeah, I don't see anyone taking him. Like that's the problem
Really?
that the Roosters have. Yeah, I don't think so.
Wow.
I think
You don't think any club would want to take Brandon Smith on board?
no.
Okay, if you were a club, how much would you pay for Brandon Smith?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
No.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't pay, you wouldn't even give Brandon
Look,
Smith
you know,
four.
it's a funny thing, and we're going to talk about it a little bit with Tyrell May. But there's clubs like the Roosters and Melbourne Storm. When players move on from those clubs, there's typically a reason that they're moving those players on. Now, I don't know these guys personally, so I can't comment on their character. But anecdotally, what I have heard is that he might not be a great fit at the Roosters. I know that there was some other stuff that happened and during some of the representative games when he's representing New Zealand Māori and things like that. So I don't know, mate. I just don't see him as a key piece moving forward for the Roosters, and I think it would be very hard to offload him. He's injured. He's going to be out for a long time. I don't think he's played well for a couple of years, and culturally, I think he's probably going to struggle to fit into any system or any discipline system going around. And a lot of the clubs are making big steps forward in that regard. And I think character is a big part of the recruitment piece now. Building, look at that culture that Penrith have built. Yeah, they're playing for each other. It's obvious to see, and it's also obvious to see when clubs are not. So I don't think so. I don't think Ben Hunt goes to Roosters. I don't see Brandon Smith getting cut and taken up somewhere. I think he'll do his rehab, come back at the back end of the season for the Roosters, and do his best to get another contract.
I think Smith's best position's lock. I think when he was at Melbourne and was coming off the bench playing lock, Grant was at hooker. I think that's when we saw Smith when he was just running out the middle. I think that's his best position, personally. And if I was looking to sign him, I'd be looking to play him hooker.
Well, his distribution, his distribution's not elite. He's a very strong ball runner. Yeah. He can hit hard as well, but his ball distribution as a hooker is not elite.
Yeah. Getting back to Hunt, where I think he will go, I think it will be one of those four clubs. I'll go. I don't think it'll be Roosters. I don't think it'll be Broncos unless they get rid of Man, because there's no way. There's no way Hunt goes to Broncos if they've got Man. If they do, I'm getting Jeff Tuvey, and there's going to be an investigation, because we got a salary cap Broncos, and you're going over if you get Hunt. So that's not happening unless Man goes.
Okay.
So then we're left with Dogs and Dolphins.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dolphins got Katoa at 7, so he'd probably play 6, or they'd switch it around.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Katoa's pretty versatile.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm actually going to go with Dogs. I'm going to go for a bit of a smoky.
Wow.
I think Dolphins is the clear one. I think Hunt will go anywhere, and I think Hunt would rather go to Dogs than Dolphins, only because Hunt's probably got a bigger chance of winning a premiership at Dogs than Dolphins. And he probably wants that bit of revenge. There's probably that bit of revenge in him from 2015 when he dropped the ball off the kickoff to finish that story sort of thing, get that premiership, have that fairy tale exit in the next 2 years. And I don't think Dolphins are in the position to win a premiership in the next 2 years, but I think Dogs certainly can be if they add Hunt. And I think Hunt would be great for their young players. They've got Mitchell Woods coming through and another one, Ben Teo, I think that's how you pronounce it. I think he could be a great mentor for them coming through. So that's where I think he will go.
Well, we've talked about this previously, but the two missing pieces the Bulldogs have, obviously the halves and then the front row. They're pretty short on cattle there, so could be a very interesting off-season for the Bulldogs if they secure Ben Hunt. As I see it, I think it's unlikely. I think Hunt has a bias to get back to Queensland, but let's see how it plays out over the next few days.
All right, moving on from Hunt, Clint Gutherson. Now, Clint was another guy we spoke about in the first episode. He was getting moved around position. It was talked about what's not going to be captain next year. It seemed very weird and seemed very obvious they were trying to get rid of him.
Yeah.
He met with Dragons the afternoon that Hunt got released. He then went back to Para, asked for a release to join Dragons on a 3-year deal immediately. And now it's been reported that, it's not confirmed, but it's been reported that Para have given him that release and that he'll be at Dragons next year and for the 2 years on.
Yeah, congrats to the Dragons, St. George Illawarra. That's a big signing. King Gutho for a reason, and he's all heart. You won't get a bigger effort player. Dylan Edwards, maybe same, cut from the same cloth essentially, but those guys give it their all. Clint Gutherson's a real leader, no-nonsense footballer, I think great signing for the Dragons. He's the kind of guy that will help mentor the younger guys in the Dragons club, and Dragons have a lot of young talent coming through, which is phenomenal. And I think that that's a good leadership pickup. And yeah, it seems like there's a bit happening at Para. Will Moses be there? What happens?
Brown's also got a player option for
Yeah,
26.
yeah. It's there's a lot happening there. Riles has got we said it, the toughest job in rugby league, rebuilding Parramatta. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Ground up,
uh,
and they probably need to
yeah.
go top. They probably need to go top down too and have a look at their board and go through that whole process. I think that's something that needs to happen.
I think the big question is with him going to Dragons is actually there's two big questions. The first one is where do you play him? The second one is how much are you paying him? So I'll ask you the first question. Where do you play him?
I don't think it matters. I think you just got to get him in the 13 and get him starting, and then see where the pieces fall over the off season with the recruitment. We're going to talk about Melbourne Storm and a little bit of action down there in the halves. But maybe if the Dragons pick up a piece in the halves, he could play 5'8". If that doesn't happen, potentially plays in the centres or fullback. I love Tyrell Sloan, but still, he's developing as a footballer too. So, yeah, there's a few options there. But, effectively anywhere in that 13, King Gutho will do a great job.
Yeah, I'd play him at 5'8". I don't think you play him in the centres because you got Sawley and Holmes. I don't think you play him at fullback because then where do you play Sloan on the wing? I don't think he's a winger, Sloan. You're not playing Gutho on the wing. You're not playing Gutho at hooker or lock probably because that's where Power are going to play him. I think 5'8's a nice position for him. He hasn't played it for a while. He has played it.
Yep.
And I especially think with Hunt now gone, him and Cole could be a halves combo.
Well, if Flanagan gets Gutho, Flanagan will play on the ball, and it'll simplify his role a little bit. I don't know. Like, I've still got question marks. Obviously, Flanagan at Bulldogs was a total flop. I think he had a good year at Dragons. The question will be, did he have a good year at Dragons because of Ben Hunt? Or is it just that he's taken the next step as a player, and that's yet to be proven? For his sake, I hope it's on his own back, but I'd be very surprised to see him be, an outstanding half next year. I think the Dragons need to look for a real long-term 7 prospect.
Yeah, and how much do you pay Gutherson over 3 years? How much is he worth?
What was he asking? Was it 900?
He's on 900 Para next season, 850.
Yeah.
I've heard Para won't chip in anything for next season.
Yeah.
So I guess he takes the money he's on at Para onto Dragons, I guess, for that season.
I think they can't offer him less, I don't think.
Yeah.
But that feels right. Like, I think that feels right. Not more or less. That feels about bang on. 850, 900 for Gutho. I don't think he's $1 million player. I think he sort of just sits under that next level. And yeah, a couple of years on that salary feels more than reasonable and still a really good pickup.
And I think in 26 and 27, you probably decrease him a bit into maybe 700, high sixes. I think you'd be fine with that. And he could also be a captain too at Dragons. Obviously, yeah. I think Cook would likely be captain, but he could have 2 co-captains.
Yeah,
he's a great leader.
Yeah,
he's a great leader, Gutherson. Probably, and what Dragons need probably with Hunt leaving.
Yeah.
To fill in that leadership void. Not dumb sure if Hunt had much leadership in him at Dragons. Yeah. Moving on, Josh Adokar. He got sacked from Dogs. Yeah. Unfortunate. I feel sorry for him. The fans love him.
I love him. We love the Fox. But he messed up and he's paid the ultimate price at the Dogs. And like he said in his post after this is all transpired, he's like, I was there when they were at their lowest point, and that is true. And we love him for making that move and making an effort to rebuild the Bulldogs. I think he's done or played a pretty significant role in that. The fans absolutely love him, and it's great to see so many Bulldogs fans getting back in behind their team. But ultimately, when we needed him in one of the most important games of our recent history, he was unavailable because of this whole drug saga. So, yeah, I think a fresh start for both parties is good. He's back training. I saw some clips on him. He's looking fit. He's looking strong and healthy. And I think he's going to have another good year in the NRL next year, wherever he lands. And, sorry to see him leave the Dogs, but that's just the way it goes. You got big responsibilities on these big contracts, and unfortunately, he just couldn't quite live up to that. But he'll be better for it.
Where does he land? Is the question.
Don't know. I think we need to see how a few of these other off-season pieces fall, and then we'll be able to see where the Fox is going to fit in. I wouldn't be surprised if Melbourne pick him up again.
Yeah, but they got Warbrick and Coates.
Yeah, they got two, and then great guy to get on a cheap contract as a reserve. A lot of those guys are playing
reserve.
Yeah,
are they class reserve?
Well, where's he going to play? Well, where's he going to go?
I think about Dragons or Eels. So they're the clubs linked to him. I'm sure
Dragons are off him.
Well, I think if they can move Ravalawa on, because he's on quite a bit of money, I think they'll put it in Addo-Carr. But if they can't, I don't think Addo-Carr goes to Dragons.
No, I don't see him going to Para either.
Then where does he go? I wonder.
I think he goes as like a piece in a team. Maybe it's Roosters, maybe it's Melbourne, something like that. But he goes as a piece. Roosters lost a lot of quality outside backs.
Yeah. I think Roosters is
But I guess what I'm saying is I don't think he's not a marquee signing anymore, right? He's not. And because of what's just happened, no one's going to pay him big money. So he's going to be playing that kind of role where he's just he's a fill-in for someone that's injured or someone that's away on rep duties or something like that. I think that's how it's going to play out.
Yeah. I've got a bit of a question here.
Okay.
We just spoke about some players who got released, re-signings. Who's the biggest name coming off contract for end of 25? Who do you think it is?
I'm sure you're going to tell me. What are you thinking?
I think, in my opinion, I've looked through the list and I think it's got to be Pappenhausen. It's got to be, right? I think Ryan Pappenhausen is a great fullback. I think he's still got that speed. It's unfortunate he's had those knee injuries. It's probably going to hold him back a bit. But I think any club would offer him big money. He comes from a champion side. I think he's still got that zip, probably not as much as he had in years prior.
Who else is on the list in the 7 jersey for next year?
So we've had Walker re-sign, we've had Trindle.
Yep.
This guy's like Wishart's got a club option. Atkinson from Cronulla, he's a 5'8". Adam Dewey's a 5'8". Pezzett, who we'll get to a bit later, who we've got a bit of John Pezzett from Melbourne, who we've got a bit of news on.
What about Stags?
Stags is a 5'8".
No, what about Katoni Stags?
Katoni Stags.
He's up as well, right? So I might say Pappenhausen and Stags. Maybe
there's also Cobbo. Brown's got a player option.
Brown. I'll say Brown, Katoni Stags, and Ryan Pappenhausen would be my top 3.
Yeah.
Most interesting.
I'm just trying to think of other halves. Obviously, Hunt's a free agent for next season.
Yep.
So yeah, they're the halves I can think of off the top of my head. But there are some quality players coming off contract. I reckon Pappenhausen's the biggest one, and I think he will get a lot of money on the market. So do I think Stags and Cobbo, and Tedesco's another one coming off contract. I'm not sure. I can't remember if he's re-signed, but no, there are some clubs like Dragons, Tigers who have got money and will be very active on the market, in my opinion. So look out for that, because there seems to be a big headline every day. So we'll have to see. Now, I just touched on about Pezzett.
Yep.
Joan Pezzett from Melbourne Storm has rejected a contract extension at Storm. So he's rejected an extension. That's massive, in my opinion. I am surprised. I'm very shocked about this. I heard that he was supposed to re-sign with them. It's clear that he hasn't. I can understand why he hasn't re-signed because I don't think he'd be in their top 17 next season.
Yeah.
I don't think because you got guys like Munster and Hughes in the spine, and then off the bench you got Wishart. So there's really nowhere for him to play. He did do his ACL last season, so he's probably going to still be recovering that
Yeah.
for the next bit of 25. Yeah, what's your opinion on this? I know there's one club who would probably be very interested with that. But what's your opinion on this, Pezzett?
Yeah, it's not surprising. I think those guys that you mentioned are there long term with the Wishart club option. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I'd be surprised if he gets an early release from that. But, you know, Jerome Hughes is as good as it gets in the halves, and Cameron Munster speaks for himself. So, yeah, looking for opportunity. Feels like he's got to go to grow, maybe, and that's what he's thinking at the moment.
He's at a good age too. He's at 21 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's probably going to continue to learn from the Melbourne system, but he's probably thinking to himself, well, why not go challenge myself?
Newcastle and Dragons.
Newcastle's been linked to him. I think Dragons have also been.
Dragons,
they've been linked to a few.
That makes sense. And Para might be looking for some more options there too. So
yeah, maybe Para.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big story, developing story. It's just broken on the try zone, so you've heard it here first.
Did we break that? I'm not sure if we broke that. I think someone.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But let's just say we did to make it sound good. Obviously now we'll get to the big one now. Yesterday was reported that Terrell May has been given permission to leave Roosters for next season.
I cannot believe this.
And no off-field scandal.
I can't believe this. There's something. I don't know if this makes sense to anybody. So Robbo's not in Australia. Terrell May's off playing with Samoa.
He's one of the best props. Like, he's probably top 10 best props.
He's definitely in the top 10.
Okay, he's definitely in the top 10.
He's definitely in the top 10.
And they've just lost Jared Hargraves, and there's no off-field scandal. He's probably loved at Roosters.
He's got a... Okay, Roosters have a lot of young talent coming through, but it's young talent. Now, he's at that age where he's starting to find his feet, starting to grow and emerge.
He's 24.
Yeah, it's kind of that start of that sweet spot. Obviously, props mature a little bit later than some other positions in the NRL. You know, you're looking at his next, probably his next 4 to 5 years is his best years, and Roosters are moving him on, but not, they're cutting him now. It's like, go.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Like,
they're losing so much talent next season. Why are you going to lose May next year too when you don't even need it? You've got money.
So run me through who's out for the Roosters for next year. You've got Hargraves.
So you've got Hargraves, Keary, Manu, Swale, East, Tupanua, Walker's out with an ACL, Smith's out with an ACL. I'm probably missing some people too. And now you're going to get rid of May. What are you doing, Roosters? What sense does this make? He is one of your best props coming through. He's at a great age, and you've just said, "Hey, mate, you can go
and
negotiate."
He played every game this year, just gone.
I'd assume off the bench, yeah. And I think a lot of clubs are sort of holding back because they're thinking, well, has something gone wrong? Is there an off-field scandal? No, there isn't. I think this is a club's Christmas. And get a great prop. And there's not many elite props coming up.
We talked about it when some of these pieces fell, and we're thinking, say, for the Bulldogs, who are they going to bring into that front row? And they miss, and then Royce Hunt signed with Tigers, and I thought, wow, that's a great signing, good for the Tigers. And now Terrell May is on the market. Wow. Huge.
No sense. I'm
Huge.
Just talking about it. I'm trying to think.
What kind of money are you paying him next year? Someone's going to pick him up, and I think maybe he doesn't quite. Maybe he doesn't quite double his money year on year. But I think someone's going to pay big money for this kid.
I think you'd give him a 4-year contract. You'd start at 700, then increase it by 50 grand every year.
Big deal. So it's on 4 years. Lock him in. I like it.
800, 850.
Does he land at Bulldogs?
Huh?
Does he land at the Bulldogs?
Bulldogs. Dogs-
Surely they must be.
yeah, but they're interested in Thompson. They're interested in Leo Thompson from Knights. I don't know if they want to go after both.
I think they need both. You could think of
Yeah, I
like
think both would be
Thompson,
great.
May, King, and
But then you probably don't have the opportunity to get Hunt if you do that.
yeah,
If Dogs want to go get him. But I think there's a lot of clubs on the market who'd be in for a front rower. Tigers would be in for one.
yeah,
Dragons would be in for one. Dogs are in for one. Knights would probably be in for one if Thompson left. There's
yeah.
plenty of clubs who'd be in for him. So if I'm May,
No, but who
leave
can afford him?
Roosters.
Who can afford him now? That's the difference. Like it's not. Yeah, this is not a 2026 play. This is now, and not many people, or not many clubs, I should say, will be in the position to make it happen now.
Tigers, Eels would be, Dragons would probably be now.
Bulldogs.
Dogs would be. Who else? I'm just trying to think of other clubs. Maybe Cowboys. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Bit like James Tarmo type signature. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but if I'm Terrell May, leave the Roosters. Show Roosters what you've got. Go and sign with another club. Get your money. Prove you're one of the best front rows in the game.
Yeah.
But this is a terrible move from Roosters. Roosters, if you're watching, that's a terrible move. Terrible. Okay.
I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that. Yeah, wow. But
Yeah,
good
sure
luck
they
to
will.
him. I think he's
Flip
got a
it.
huge
Go watch
future in
it.
front of him, and
If you're watching and you know the Roosters, go send it to them because I need to hear it.
It's a full rebuild there, isn't it? At the Roosters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's been a great episode 3, hasn't it? We've
lot of action.
We've
There's
done a lot of progress.
There's a lot
We got
going on.
1K. We got 1K views on a short. So
Yeah,
thank you
thanks,
everyone.
guys. That's pretty cool.
Please keep liking and subscribing. Now, last week we spoke about a major announcement.
Talk to me.
Do you want to hear what the major announcement is?
What are we doing?
We'll be launching full time.
Full time? All
To
right.
be advised. So we will tell you soon when it will be. But yeah, it's going to be big.
Yeah, I think we've had a really good response. Obviously, Jack's a young kid having a crack. He loves his footy and happy to support it full time. And we're going to kick that off in the very near future. But we'll be going full time with the Tri Zone, and love the support and the feedback that we're getting out there from all the punters, all the kids out there. So yeah, we'll keep this going, and hopefully, yeah, we can bring on some exciting guests over 2025 as well. We've got a few up our sleeve that we'll start to reveal over the summer. And yeah, we're looking forward to going full time at this. It's been really good fun, and yeah, it's an exciting journey ahead of us. So well done to you, Jack. It's pretty cool to see. He's only 14. He's doing good.
Tri-Zone's got to wrap up quickly because Jack's got to get out of here right now because I'm being yelled at to get going. Got to go dinner. All right, thank you. Shoe fist bump.
See you,
Let's
buddy.
get out of here.
Have a
All
good
right,
night. Thanks,
see
mate.
ya.